All right, welcome to this explainer. Have you ever stopped to think about where gold actually comes from? I mean, really comes from. It's wild to think about, but across oceans and millennia, completely disconnected ancient civilizations came to a remarkably similar conclusion about this stuff. It was not of this earth.
Just look at the history for a second. Down in the heart of Cusco, Peru, the Inca Empire had the Coricancha Temple of the Sun. Its walls were literally covered in sheets of gold, complete with life-size statues of plants and animals crafted entirely from the solid metal. And then, thousands of years earlier and half a world away in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, the young pharaoh Tutankhamun was buried inside 3 nested coffins. The innermost one, a single shell of solid gold weighing an unbelievable 11.4 kilograms. To the Inca, this wasn't just ordinary wealth. They viewed it beautifully and quite literally as the sweat of the sun. The ancient Egyptians held a super similar divine view, believing gold was the actual flesh of their gods, specifically the sun god Ra. And we can't forget the Greeks with their myths of King Midas and the Golden Fleece. What connects these cultures, who, remember, had absolutely zero contact with one another, is this powerful, enduring belief.
So they all independently believed that gold could not possibly have originated right here on Earth. And you know what? Here is the real aha moment of our entire journey today. They were wrong about the gods, sure, but they were absolutely right that gold came from the sky. Every single ounce of gold we have has a completely extraterrestrial origin. So we're going to embark on a bit of a cosmic detective story to find out exactly how this incredible metal is actually forged. To figure out where gold comes from, we first have to understand where it totally doesn't come from. Our sun, and ordinary stars just like it, can never produce a single atom of gold. The core of our sun burns at a relatively gentle 15 million degrees Celsius. Now that's hot enough to fuse hydrogen into helium, and it's a nice steady burn that keeps a star alive for billions of years. But it is nowhere near hot enough to build heavy elements. Making gold requires a deeply, almost incomprehensibly unreasonable environment of cosmic violence. We're talking temperatures reaching into the billions of degrees and pressures trillions of times greater than anything you'd find inside our sun. Here's how it works. A normal star builds heavier and heavier elements through nuclear fusion. This releases energy and pushes back against the crushing weight of the star's own massive gravity. But stellar fusion hits a hard, mathematically absolute wall right at element 26 on the periodic table. That's iron. When a star's core turns to iron, fusion just stops releasing energy. In fact, it actually begins to consume it. Without that outward push of energy from the core, well, gravity wins. The star collapses under its own massive weight, and it dies. Okay, let's dive into this. To get all the way up to element 79, which is gold, we have to look way beyond normal fusion to this incredibly violent mechanism called the R process, or rapid neutron capture. Put simply, you have to slam enormous numbers of neutrons into an atomic nucleus so insanely fast that the atom literally doesn't even have time to decay before it balloons into a much heavier element. To pull that off, you need free neutron densities that simply do not exist in normal calm stars. You need a place with insane density, like a neutron star. A neutron star is the wildly dense remnant of a massive dead star. Picture this. It contains roughly the entire mass of our sun, but all of that mass is crushed down into a sphere only about 10 meters across. That's roughly the size of a single city. The density is absolutely mind-bending. A single teaspoon of material from a neutron star would weigh around 1 billion tons. When 2 of these ultra-dense neutron stars start spiraling toward each other and eventually collide at roughly 1/3 the speed of light, they warp the very fabric of space-time itself. And the craziest part? On August 17th, 2017, we actually witnessed this happen from 130 million light-years away. First, the LIGO and Virgo detectors recorded the gravitational waves. Then, just 1.7 seconds later, a massive burst of gamma rays hit. And 11 hours after that, telescopes zeroed in on a colossal explosion called a kilonova. As astronomers watched, the explosion shifted from bright blue to red. That was the literal radioactive glow of heavy elements being forged right before our eyes. In a matter of seconds, that single collision produced anywhere between 3 and 13 Earth masses of solid gold. Now, what's really interesting here is a discovery made just recently in 2025. Astronomers went back into some old data and completely re-examined a super powerful flare from a magnetar called SG 1806-20 that happened back in 2004. Hiding right there in 20 years of data was proof that the single magnetar flare also produced enough heavy elements, including gold, to form a planet the size of Mars. It turns out these specific magnetic cosmic flares could actually be responsible for up to 10% of all the heavy elements in our entire galaxy. So we know extreme cosmic violence treats gold, but how did any of it end up right here on Earth? Well, about 4.5 billion years ago, before the sun even existed, some sort of cosmic event scattered gold all throughout our stellar neighborhood. But almost all of it basically disappeared during Earth's early formation. See, gold is what we call siderophile, which is just a fancy way of saying it absolutely loves iron. When the early Earth was completely molten, the gold mixed right in with the liquid iron and sank straight to the center of the planet. Today, 99% of Earth's gold is locked away in our metallic core, 1,800 miles beneath our feet. To put that into perspective, there's actually enough gold down there to cover every single continent on Earth in a solid layer 50 centimeters thick. But since temperatures down there reach up to 6,000 degrees Celsius and humanity has never managed to drill deeper than about 8 miles, that core gold is trapped there forever. So where on Earth does the gold in our wedding rings and smartphones actually come from? Well, we have to think what geologists call the late veneer. Long after Earth's core had fully formed, our planet got bombarded by this late wave of asteroids and comets. This was roughly 3.8 to 4.1 billion years ago. They delivered a fresh, thin layer of material right to the surface, and that new material included all the mineable gold we have today. Let's look at how this builds. We actually have direct, tangible proof of this late veneer happening. In a landmark study back in 2011, researchers analyzed these incredibly old rocks from Isua, Greenland. They're about 3.8 billion years old. These ancient rocks have a uniquely high ratio of tungsten 182 to tungsten 184. Basically, this preserved the chemical fingerprint of Earth's mantle from before the late veneer meteorites ever arrived. The incoming meteorites had a completely different, much lower ratio. So when they crashed into Earth and mixed into the mantle, they changed the global ratio to exactly what we see in modern rocks today. It literally proves that our surface gold fell from the sky long after our planet was born.
But get this, the cosmic interventions didn't even stop there. Think about this mind-blowing fact. Roughly 40% of all the gold humanity has ever mined in history came from just one single place, South Africa's Witwatersrand Basin. Over billions of years, ancient rivers had naturally concentrated gold particles into the sediment there. Normally, wind and rain would have entirely eroded all of it away. But 2.02 billion years ago, a massive asteroid, we're talking 250 to 300 kilometers wide, slammed right into the region. It created the massive Radefort crater. That insanely violent impact physically tilted the gold-rich rock layers upward and shielded them from any further erosion. So cosmic violence didn't just create and deliver our gold, a completely separate second wave of cosmic violence physically protected it for us to find later. Okay, so now that we know how it got here, we have to talk about our really fascinating quirk regarding the metal itself. Take a second and think about it. Why is gold actually golden? Almost all other metals we know, iron, silver, aluminum, lead, they're all kind of a boring silver gray. Why is gold the massive exception here?
The answer? It actually isn't ordinary chemistry. It's Einstein's theory of relativity. Gold atoms are incredibly heavy. And because of that massive nucleus, the atom's inner electrons are forced to move at nearly half the speed of light just to keep from falling inward. At those extreme relativistic speeds, the electrons start to behave completely differently. They absorb blue light and they reflect yellow light. Seriously, if it weren't for Einstein's relativity, gold would just look like boring silvery lead. That divine yellow shine that so completely captivated ancient cultures is literally the visible effect of relativistic physics right there in the palm of your hand. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the greatest historical ironies of human science. For centuries, some of our most brilliant minds, including Isaac Newton, who actually spent way more time secretly obsessing over alchemy than he ever did discovering gravity or inventing calculus, they were totally obsessed with turning base metals into gold. Alchemists spent hundreds of years desperately searching for the philosopher's stone, this magical ingredient they thought they needed to add to lead to turn it into gold. But modern physics proved they had it completely backwards. You don't add anything, you actually have to remove 3 protons from lead.
And guess what? It's CERN's Large Hadron Collider. Modern scientists actually did what Newton only dreamed of. By smashing lead nuclei together in near-miss collisions at 99.99993% the speed of light, they successfully stripped away those three protons and literally turned lead into gold. The catch? Well, they produced a microscopic 29 picograms of gold. It lasted only microseconds and cost 1,000,000,000,000 times the actual market price of regular gold, but hey, it absolutely proved the mechanics of the universe.
But understanding the exact science hasn't really changed the powerful grip this metal has on humanity at all, which brings us right back full circle to the year 1532, when the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro captured the Inca Emperor Atahualpa. The Inca famously offered to fill an entire room with gold and 2 more with silver just to buy his freedom. They brought in these priceless, deeply sacred treasures, golden sun discs and breathtaking life-size statues straight from the Coricancha Gardens. But the Spanish, they didn't see divine wonder. They just saw money. They melted down an entire civilization's spiritual and artistic heritage into plain, heavy gold bars.
It's the eternal contradiction of this incredible element, isn't it? The Inca looked at it and saw the literal sweat of the sun. The Spanish looked at it and saw pure greed. We now know for a fact that gold is born from the most violent stellar collisions in the universe, buried deep in the Earth's core, delivered by ancient asteroids, and colored by the very laws of relativity. But perhaps the absolute greatest mystery of gold isn't where it comes from. It's the question of whether the difference between wonder and greed is found within the metal itself, or entirely in how we human beings choose to see it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering, and I'll catch you next time.